Und damit ein herzliches Willkommen zurück zu einer neuen Folge von Vampyr. Ah, komm, wir geben mal ein bisschen Gas, damit wir da auch hinkommen. Die brauchen die Medicine. Ah, hier habe ich ja was vergessen aufzuheben. Oh, wo kommst du denn her? Deine Lebensenergie. Ah, der. Verlierst du was? Nee. Schon wieder einer, der abhaut. Ah ne, du willst nicht abhauen. Du hast Hunger. Ja, der hat was verloren. Und du anscheinend auch, aber das hattest du am Anfang nicht gehabt. Ach, Bart juckt. Ah. So. Die Menge an MP, die du durch das Aussaugen von Bürgern erhältst, hängt direkt mit ihrer Blutqualität zusammen. Alles klar. Wo war denn nochmal das Tagebuch? Oder Mission, Aufgaben. Ist das das? Nee. Nachtschicht. Ja, bring die Medizin zu Dorsey. Mir wird aber nur eins angezeigt. Na, sie ist doch unten, alles klar. Oh, da ist sogar noch jemand, der unbekannt ist. Mhm.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls? When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Kann verringern die Blutqualität eines Bürgers. Verwenden Sie die richtigen Medikamenten, um ihn zu heilen. Sprich mit dem Patienten im Zimmer hinter Dorsey, um seinen Gesundheitszustand zu kontrollieren.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Gesundheitszustand ist Vampyr aus dem persönlichen Fall.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even write about it now.
Erschöpfung, Mahnung gegen Erschöpfung. Ja, ich hab was gegen Erschöpfung. Aber wie mache ich das?
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
I'm alright. Don't waste your time with me.
Ich hab doch was gegen Erschöpfung. Glaube ich. Da, Behandlung. Behandlung gegen Erschöpfung.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Ich weiß nicht, wie ich den heile.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
Okay, ich habe jetzt, während ich R2 gedrückt habe, R1 noch gedrückt.
You are not a burden,
Stand nur
sir.
nirgendwo.
Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
Ja, gut.
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Don't waste your time with me.
Der könnte depressiv sein, oder? Ja, Mann, das Spiel will aber auch, dass ich die Leute mir alle reinzwiebel, wa? Ah, ich muss nach oben.
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous,
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea, but my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
Das ist eher eine Ironie, aber gut.
There is an absurd poetry to my situation. Physician, heal thyself.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
I'm not some doe-eyed student, Edgar. I understand we both have something to gain from this relationship.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling. And until I come to understand what has happened to me, I require discretion.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would jeopardize her position.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly near the tents outside, tending the sick. You can't miss her. Look for someone impossibly delicate.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is in.
Alles klar. Können wir mit dem nochmal reden?
Do you need something, Jonathan?
I have just a few questions.
Then ask away. I'm at your service, Doctor.
You mentioned something about a secret society. A brotherhood, if I recall. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific observers.
Yet you don't fear me. And still, you know the monster that lurks beneath the civilized surface.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries. We believe you are as supernatural as a lion is to a gazelle.
That explains your nightly wanderings about the docks and the questions you ask.
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chain of events in motion.
Since I'm the one working for you, what should I know about Pembroke Hospital?
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health care.
What do you expect of me?
What we need is hope. You were a soldier. This is a war. This white coat's still a uniform. We fight to help the poor, the sick of the East End, the forgotten.
Where do we stand today?
Well, to be honest, we cope on a day-to-day basis. The first wave of the Spanish flu last summer took us by surprise. We lack many of the basic necessities
Da steht
needed.
Gruppe. Der spanischen Gruppe, aber ich glaube, da sollte Grippe steht.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory, William Bishop, I believe, was he a vampire?
He was a Skrull, technically speaking. The debate rages as to their classification. Some think them a subspecies of vampire, others something else.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Skrull?
A Skrull is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires... Now, vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
How do Skrulls come into existence?
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species of vampire. From what I know, vampires tend to despise them.
Since you seem quite the expert on vampires, what could you tell me about my condition and how it came about?
As men of science, our first step is always to start with what we know. Forget the myths, the hackneyed scrawlings, and the penny dreadfuls. They do not scratch the surface of the truth you now find yourself in.
Must I take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
The sun. The morning following my transformation. Its rays burned me. There was pain, smoke, and my skin blackened.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged, but it will not destroy you.
We'll see each other again soon, Edgar.
Ja, war doch mal recht aufschlussreich. Eine zierliche Frau, hat er gesagt.
So little result.
We are overwhelmed by this horrifying epidemic.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still
Wieso
trying to
stehst du
save lives.
so weit über ihm? Hä?
Have you heard of any underhand dealings going on in this hospital?
There are a lot of secrets round here. I'm not surprised someone tried to make money from them.
What kind of secrets?
I'm not in the gossip business, Dr. Reed. If you want to know more, you better talk to Harriet Jones. She's the oldest patient here.
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet, with all the money, and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin color that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
I'd like to see your goods.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed. A reliable gun is what everybody needs these days.
Ja, ich bin ja eher so der Typ, der verkauft, ne? Aber das machen wir vielleicht doch ein bisschen später.
The flu took my dear wife, Emily. I take comfort knowing we'll soon be together again.
Mr. Rainfield, that's no way to talk. You're in good hands here, and we'll be up again soon enough. Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
Your words are kind, the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet lady of mercy.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised. Dr. Swansea has brought me up to speed concerning your recent appointment to Pembroke Hospital.
You're a the lady who saved me that night, before vanishing into thin air. I remember you from the pub with Dr. Swansea.
Indeed. Allow me to introduce myself formally this time. My name is Lady Ashbury. I remember you well, in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
Apologies. You've taken me by surprise. I'm very happy to see you.
The pleasure is mine, Doctor.
I hope you're more disposed to answer my questions now.
You must have countless questions, but our rather urgent matter first. Swansea has explained. My cover, if you prefer, has been compromised.
Dr. Swansea has commissioned me to be your agent in this matter. You could start by explaining what's amiss.
These past insufferable weeks, I've been the victim of extortion. I've made a first payment, but the blackmailer grows greedy. I must refuse his most recent demands.
If we're dealing with an ordinary criminal, surely you've the means to deal with it yourself, if I may.
As immortal tradition doth dictate, all fangs and hypnotic eyes ablaze, the blood would run like a river. That's what I hope to avoid. Violence has a tendency to spiral out of control.
What are your expectations? Please be precise.
As the newly appointed surgeon of this hospital, you are in an excellent position to ask innocent questions and deftly learn the identity of my blackmailer.
Who would be so foolish as to threaten you? A kindred spirit.
Even if it were the case, and I highly doubt it, a vampire would have asked for something more valuable than money. My suspicions lean toward a patient or their family.
Please continue. Every detail is essential. I'm your man.
My embarrassment in this matter is eclipsed only by my shame at having put the hospital at risk. The threat from our anonymous scoundrel is clear. A list of dates. My visits coinciding with the dates of suspicious patient deaths due to massive blood loss.
Is it true?
Now aren't you the blunt one?
We both are afflicted with a thirst for blood, Lady Ashbury. That is our nature. By vocation, we also have reason to visit the hospital. Logic dictates.
In all honesty, I'm not simply a patron to the hospital. My visits serve a dual purpose. Dr. Swansea has been treating my condition with a revolutionary technique of blood transfusion. It seems you are a specialist in the domain.
I'll take care of it. Do you know where I should start?
If that was the case, I'd settle the matter myself. You could talk to our local gossip, Harriet Jones. Not a pin drops here without her hearing about it.
I'll meet that woman now.
My life, as others know, is in your hands, Dr. Reed. I'm sure of your discretion, but I do fear your powers of persuasion will be put to the test. When this is resolved, I'll be your obligé. I'll answer all questions in regards of your condition.
Okay, aber ich wäre erstmal dafür, die ganzen EP auszugeben. Da gucken wir auch später mal nach. Huch. Ah ne, das war falsch. Wo musste ich denn nochmal hin? Ich glaube hier hinten. Defensiv, ja, Blutbarriere, okay. Gerinnung. Ich würde, glaube ich, weiter auf den Biss gehen und vielleicht auf Blut. Oder Leben, irgendwie sowas. Zustand des Körpers. Ja, Leben ist immer gut. Haben wir noch den Biss, schnelle Regeneration. Ah, ja. Ne, der will noch schon 600 haben. Vielleicht kriegen wir hier etwas. Wissenschaftler der Serie, die du tragen kannst. Ich weiß noch nicht so genau, ob das sinnvoll für mich ist. Dann nehmen wir einmal physische Stärke. Gut, bestätigen. Die folgende Nacht. So, er